All right, here I am, day number 13 of my 30-day challenge. And I am really excited because 13 is one of my favorite numbers. And I think of it as lucky number 13. So, in honor of that, I decided that I wanted to share a soul story today. This is a soul story about a person living in their truth. Now, um, I write these stories for myself initially, and I identify as a she. So my stories lean in that direction. However, if you do not identify as a she, please replace with whatever you do identify as, because these stories, they can apply to anyone. And I think I'm just going to get right into it. So, I guess I should just say real quickly, in case you haven't seen any of my other soul stories, I write these using tarot cards, and I pick a theme in advance, and then I pick the cards at random, and then I write the story based on the images on the cards. So, yes, and I wrote this back in the summer, back in July. So it is fairly recent, compared to some that I might read that I wrote a couple years ago when I first started. So, but this one feels really appropriate because of this kind of running theme throughout my videos, throughout this series, this 30-day challenge that I'm doing. These kind of similar themes keep coming up, and this just seemed perfect for this theme and for today. So here we go. Oh, and by the way, I have always used the Osho Zen Tarot deck for my stories, mainly because, it's when I was taught how to do this, it was the deck that I had that was the most appropriate for this exercise. And I really like the images in these cards. Each one is very dynamic and has a lot to say within itself. So they're really fun to use and easy to kind of pick. With that, I will get started. Here we go. Wish I was able to do this a little more, be a little more fancy, have it up on the computer screen or something, but I just have it written down, so bear with me. All right, and I'm going to show the card as I read each section, so you can understand what it's based on. All right, here we go. Once upon a time, there was a woman living in her truth. She was the embodiment of light and dark, masculine and feminine, the earthly and the ethereal. She let the foundation of her life come from the knowing and love in her heart. She was moved by her emotions, yet always feeling balanced and never overtaken by them. And she was always in communion with the divine light that surrounded her. By resting in her truth and allowing it to define her, she was open to the insights and inspiration the universe provided her, plucking them from universal consciousness as one would pluck the ripest fruit from a tree. And as she received these gifts, more would flow in, always multiplying. She knew that as long as she used her intuition and practiced being receptive, the abundance would continue to flow into her. There were times when it seemed as if one misstep could send her plummeting off a cliff into the abyss of emotions that flowed below her. Yet she was unconcerned, for she knew that fixing her gaze on beauty and feeling grateful for all the miracles in life, both large and small, would help her find her footing, or even allow her to take flight, effectively removing any fear of falling. In this knowing, she was able to live in a state of joy and bliss. The moral of the story is this: living in our truth allows us to access the multitude of gifts and abundance provided by the universe. As long as we set our sights on the beauty of the world around us and steep ourselves in gratitude, we can live in the certainty that we will always find our next step, or even discover our wings and soar without the fear of falling. And it is in the accepting and embodying of all aspects of ourselves that brings us to our deepest, most authentic truth. It's so cool to read this. I don't think I've looked at this since shortly after I wrote it. And I was just inspired to read a soul story. And when I looked down at the beginning of it, I saw that it was about a woman living in her truth. And so I just grabbed it. But to actually read it, it's remarkable how appropriate it is for me to be reading this right now after all the things that I've been saying over these last few videos and the readings that I've done. And it feels like it's kind of like the kind of sum total of all of that. And the fact that I wrote it back in July. It's just, the timing is really cool. So I think I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the story. There definitely will be more. And until then, take care. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful. Mwah.